Hello, traders, and welcome in a new daily markets outlook. Today is Wednesday, the 2nd of November, 2022, and this video is brought to you by the market research team at ONEPRO. Today is basically a very important day in the markets. We do have the FOMC meeting scheduled. It basically started yesterday and it ends today, as well as the press conference from the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, is also scheduled today as well. So what would be the interest rate decision and how would this affect the markets? What are the possible scenarios and how would markets act accordingly? All of this will be discussed in today's daily markets outlook. So let's start quickly with the economic agenda and let's discuss all of the scenarios. Basically, the economic agenda today shows only the key thing to watch would be the FOMC statement as well as the interest rate decision from the Federal Reserve. We also have the ADP non-farm employment change. However, it isn't as important today as markets are focusing more on the FOMC meeting. So when it comes to the FOMC meeting, basically we have one of two scenarios. Of course, with a 90% or even more than 90% probability, the Federal Reserve will hike interest rates with another 75 basis points for today, which is already pretty much priced in the markets. However, it all depends on the tone from the Federal Reserve and the FOMC meeting, as well as the press conference from Jerome Powell. If Jerome Powell starts to give a more of a dovish tone about the possible scenarios in the next meeting, which is in December, and this is supposed to be the last meeting for 2022. If we heard any dovish comments that the Federal Reserve should slow the tightening phase or cycle, maybe we have another rate hike in the next meeting with only 50 basis points. In all of those dovish scenarios, basically markets will start to relax a little bit. The dollar index should ease off a little bit, and we won't basically see much higher prices on the dollar, as well as this will give some relief on the risk assets and all of the currencies, including euro, including the British pound, and of course gold. However, if for any reason Jerome Powell didn't give any dovish comments or maybe mentioned that inflation is still running higher and we will take necessary actions to control and fight inflation, this might give a hint to the markets that the Federal Reserve might basically go above the pivot of 4.6%, which was announced during the last meeting, and we might have higher interest rates. And this should immediately mean that we have another swing higher on the dollar index. And of course, this will affect and negatively pressurize all of the other financial assets, including currencies, including as well metals, and on top of that, gold. So it's either a dovish tone, maybe some probabilities of a 50 basis points rate hike in the next meeting. This will give some relief to all of the assets and continue the sideways range and correction on the dollar index. The other way around is a continued hawkish tone and signals that we are still gonna rate interest rates or hike interest rates with more and more aggressive tone. This should basically make the markets continue the current situation, dollar strength and weakness on all of the financial assets. So we will be following up with you basically on what will happen in the meeting, and we'll give you, of course, an update tomorrow on our daily markets outlook. Let's have a quick look on the technical analysis and the charts. What are the possible scenarios according to each scenario that would happen in the FOMC meeting today? Starting with the dollar index, it's pretty much doing nothing since yesterday. We mentioned that we broke below the very short-term upward trend line on the 30 minutes time frame. We expected a lot of weakness yesterday and we expected a continuation of the downward move. However, the dollar index, and due to the fact that markets are waiting eagerly for the FOMC meeting today, so markets are a little bit trading in a sideways range. We had another retest of this resistance around the 111.70, and pretty much nothing is happening on the dollar index at the moment. As we mentioned, any dovish tone from the Federal Reserve that we were gonna rate or slow down the aggressiveness and the monetary tightening cycle starting from the next meeting, we should expect that this level of 111.70 should act as a very strong resistance, and hence we will be having a downward and a sustained move on the dollar index to the downside. On the other side, any more or further hawkish comments from the Federal Reserve, it definitely means that this resistance should be broken during the meeting, and we will continue the way upwards. So it all depends really on what will happen today in the FOMC meeting. The same also applies on the euro. We mentioned that the support level 0.9853 is basically a key support that we should start the upward move from. We had some bullish price action from here, but the fact that the markets are waiting for the FOMC meeting also gives a sideways range on the euro, and it depends on the outcome of the FOMC meeting, either to break below support if we have strength on the dollar index, or the other way around, the dollar should ease a little bit, giving some space for the euro to have some relief. And pretty much the same applies as well on the pound. So on the technical side of things today, there is not a lot to say. We are also waiting for the FOMC meeting. The gold trading is so far trying to hold its trading above the levels of support that we mentioned before, 1630 and 1625. Will this support basically continue holding prices above during today's meeting or not? It also depends on the possible scenarios and comments from the Federal Reserve chairman. So today we will give you a quick update on our Telegram channel on what will happen and what's happening in the markets, as well as the outcome of the meeting, and we will keep you updated as usual. Please wait for tomorrow's daily markets outlook. We will give a full comment on the meeting, what happened and what we expect during the next period. So make sure that you don't miss tomorrow's daily markets outlook. Thank you so much, and please stay tuned for another videos. Please stay safe.